Hello and welcome, my fart blossoms. How you doing this fantastic day? It's Chris here, and today we're gonna give you guys a deck building guide. I've been getting this a lot. People say, I don't know what to put in my deck. How do I get a good deck? I'm just picking too strong of cards. My cards don't really work well together. How do you make a deck that works well with itself? And that's really hard to do, but honestly, there's 64 cards in the game. You want to put the really strong towers in there, you want to put the really awesome rush cards in there, and you want to just, be really good somehow, but sometimes your cards just don't manage to work together well, and that can be a little bit difficult for you. So, I'm going to give you guys a basic idea of what you want to build. I don't want to tell you the Taxator is terrible, the Dart Monkey's terrible, the Bomb Tower is amazing. I don't want to tell you things like that, because I feel like if I do that, then you're going to only put those cards in your deck, and you're going to be, stuck in kind of a rut. So the first thing I want to say is you should test out every card. What I was telling people is the easiest deck to start off if you haven't played at all. Pick 5 good offensive cards, pick 5 good defensive cards, and then pick 5 cards that you think would be kind of fun or interesting to play with. They can be rush cards, economy cards, defensive cards, whatever you want them to be. That's a really good, very first few games starting deck. And then you can adjust it accordingly. That's the cool thing, is every single game you can change your deck and make it better. And that's the end goal, is to find out what deck works for you the best. Not what deck works for everybody the best, because everybody plays differently. So that all being said, I'm going to give you guys some basic ideas on what you should do with your deck. How should you build it? Number one thing, start by adjusting the sort by button over here. Go to tower cost or balloon cost or balloon type, because you're going to get mostly low-level cards, and they're going to keep getting higher and higher and higher. And I want you guys to build your deck from the bottom up, from the lower-level cards to the higher-level cards. Because you know what, a lot of people, what they would do, including myself, what I might do is I might say, oh my god, look at all these cards down here, guys. Oh my god, Ray of Doom. Oh my god, Temple of Monkey God, the Patchy Darkship, Super Rookie Fan Club. Oh, I want all of these guys on my deck. And then all of a sudden you realize that your deck is built all for late game, and you have nothing for the early game. So you don't want to do that. You want to start with the lower level cards, build your way up. So, what you should do is you have the ability to build 3 decks. So you probably want to build one for a sort of earlier game rush. You want to build one for a sort of medium game, and one for a sort of late game. The only thing that I don't recommend doing is building an only water deck or something like that. For me, that hasn't worked out very well. I feel like there's only a few maps where that might end up, messing with me a little bit. So what I do is sometimes I just have one deck that's specifically my water deck that I just trade out one card for the 2/2 sub or something like that. So don't go full on water decks, but just, keep an early game, a mid game, and a late game. And what that really is that means that you're going to build mostly early game cards, but you're going to have a couple mid-game cards and a good late-game card. That's the early game deck. The mid-game deck is going to have a couple early-game cards, a decent amount of mid-game cards, and then a couple late-game cards. And the late-game deck is, of course, going to have a few early game, a few medium, and then quite a few late-game cards. When I say quite a few, I mean, I'm not thinking any more than 5 or 6. If you go any more than that, you're going to be stuck in a rut, and you can get a hand right at the very beginning of your game that has 5 terrible cards. And that's not fun to deal with. So, this is how I would build my deck here, guys. I'm going to start with some lower level cards. I want to get economy. You're going to need some sort of economy cards in the game, and you're going to need some early game defensive cards. So you want to pick something that you think will work well to defeat a lot of the early game rushes. The reds, the blues, even the pinks and the blacks on round 3 and 5. Be wary of those. They can do some mega damage. So usually I would definitely pick the Spike Factory in my deck. I was just saying I didn't want to tell you guys to put certain cards in your deck, but Spike Factory is something that I would definitely like to put in my deck. And as far as the rest of the red balloons go, if you really want to get an early game deck and you want to get a lot of economy, these guys are definitely awesome. Once you move on to these next few blue cards, this is where it gets a little bit weird. I don't really like all that many of the blue cards. I mean, they're not all that good. I mean, this guy's not very good group popping power. This guy is blue balloons, but he's also space balloons. And it really doesn't send out much economy. And it's I really don't want a 0/0 attack shooter. Ninja Discipline, not much group popping power. Still kind of expensive. Is it worth it? Advanced Intel, same thing. Not that much group popping power. Just kind of is there, doing some damage. The Glaive Thrower, on the other hand, he's actually some pretty decent group popping power, and he's a pretty decent economy card. So Glaive Thrower is definitely a decent guy to put in your deck if you want to. And then, moving on, you got to think about what kind of, like, green cards you want to put in your deck. So, I don't know, like, here's the thing, guys. If you're having some trouble surviving in the early game, put more of these guys in. It's as easy as that. So I'm going to pop a Dart Monkey in there for sure, too. I just like to have the Dart Monkey, even if I just pop a few of those guys in there at the beginning of the game. There's nothing wrong with that. And then, as far as green cards go, again, same thing. What kind of game do you want to be playing? Do you want to do a really beefy green rush on round 5? Some people can get hurt by that. Send, 200 greens here, an extra, 50 greens here. 250 greens can be very difficult for a lot of people to defeat. So when I'm talking about economy here, guys, what do I mean? Do I mean balloon economy or farm economy? Well, I've tried out both, and I have liked both, but the farm economy way is a lot more luck-based. You really do need to get lucky with what farms you get at what time. If you don't get the right farms, you're going to be throwing out a lot of cards, you're going to not get very much money, and it's just not going to work out very well. So you really do have to get a lot of banana farms in your deck to make it worthwhile, or just do a mixture. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll have the banana, a few banana farms in their deck, maybe the banana plantation and the 4-2 or something like that, and just whenever they have extra money, they pop that guy down. So that's totally cool. Totally cool. Alright, so, you want to have some decent cards that can defend in the early game, and right now I feel like I've got 4 decent cards, but I still probably need just a little bit more. That's why I'm going to go with the Intense Magic over here. Again, this is not like the most perfect deck in the entire world. I'm just throwing out some ideas out there, showing you guys some decent ideas for deck building. As you can see, I've got 4 decent cards for early game. Let's add just a 5th one in there, and now we're going to start thinking about mid-game. So I'm building like an all-around deck right now. So I don't really like the Banana Farm card all that much. 0-0 is just a little bit too weak for me. I know it's only 900 bucks, but it just like takes up too much space and stuff like that, so I don't really like the 0-0 Banana Farm all that much. Feel free to put it in your deck though. It's just more personal opinion. Again, you gotta figure out what's good for you, what works for you, because what works for me is not always what's gonna work for you guys. So the Bionic Boomer, he's a really interesting card. He's got a pretty decent amount of group popping power, got lead popping power, can pop a lot of group balloons, even some regrow balloons, so I like to have him in my deck for sure. So we're gonna pop him in there. And then now you have to think about a little bit more mid-game stuff. Like, what else do you want to use? I mean, do you want to go for rushes and stuff like that? I don't know. Why not, man? We'll pop a rush card in our deck. 'Cause right now, all I have is just lower level balloons. I can't really kill anybody with reds or greens or yellows. Maybe. I mean, I might be able to if we get really lucky. But for the most part, yeah, probably not. So I have noticed that a lot of people really like to go for the 3rd tier cannon. It's 40 pink balloons when you send that out, so I mean that's a really nice rush card right there. Only 600 bucks for 40 pinks, so you can rush on round 3 with a big chunk of pink. So a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll put like a couple more rush cards in their deck just to cause some issues for our enemy and whatnot. And if you're having trouble with group balloons, well, there you go, my friends. A nice, decent early game card. You can actually afford him on round 1, maybe the beginning of round 2. So you can pop him down and not have too many issues until the black balloons. So like I was saying, you need to make sure you have some sort of economy. So we have a decent amount of economy over here, but it's not that bad adding some banana plantation action in there. If you can get a couple of those guys in there, get lucky, and get those guys at the right time, right when you have the money for it, you can get a big chunk of extra economy going in there. Oh my god, I need a stupid freaking laptop. I hate you. I hate you, laptop. I always make stupid noises like that. So then you need to start thinking about, again, we have a decent chunk of everything right now. What are we missing? Well, we don't have any good late game towers right now. We have a couple decent early game towers, but we have like no decent late game towers. So I'm going to pop a laser cannon in here. I'm like, alright, I'll pop a laser cannon in here. But I want to get some rush cards in here. I've been thinking mostly about defense and economy. I want to have some rush cards in here. So you have to think about what are the best rush cards. And it's different for everybody. A lot of people love to go for different types of rushes. You have to think about what you want to use. What do you think is going to be the best rushes? Grouped regrow leads, or are you going to like zebra balloons? I personally love zebra balloons, so I love to go for zebra balloon rushes. I love to follow up with regrow rainbows, so whenever possible, I'll do a zebra rush, follow up with a regrow rainbow rush. I have noticed that a lot of people, what they like to do is, I think it's up here a little bit. Where is it? I'm pretty sure there was a regen white card. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's just the regular whites. Yeah, a lot of people have problems with just these regular whites over here. I know, it's kind of weird, right? But you get 75 whites with the balloon trap here. It's only $3 so I mean, it's a little bit expensive, but you can send it on sort of an early round. So the cool thing is if you force somebody to use their battle energy with these white balloons, you can follow with a zebra rush, or follow with a regal rainbow rush on the next round. So and get a lot of really good rushes in there. But now I have no good late game cards right now, so we have to have something that can defeat people in the late game. So even though it kind of sucks that, you might get these guys in the early game and not get them in the late game, when you actually want them, you should have at least 1 or 2 late game cards in your deck, almost no matter what. Personally, I was going with only the Super Monkey Fan Club as my only late game card, and then what I realized is if this doesn't work, I lose. I pretty much lose. So this is where you really need to think about what kind of defense you're going for and what kind of offense you want to go for. Are you going to keep any Zone My Gods on your deck? There's only 3 cards with Zone My Gods in them currently, so if you want to send out any Zone My Gods, whether it's 1, 5, or 12, you're going to have these 3 cards now. They're really expensive, though. Will you have enough economy? Will you have enough money? It's going to be difficult to get those guys, for sure. So a lot of people, what they're going to do is they're going to rush with just crap tons of BFBs over here. You got 7, 5, 10 BFBs. Even 1 BFB. I don't really recommend the 1 BFB card all that much. It usually doesn't cause too many issues for people. Usually. But, again, anything can cause problems. Do it right on round 19, and you can cause some pretty massive chaos over there. Alright, so, usually what I do is I definitely put the Super Monkey Fan Club in here, and then, like I said, it's up to you. What do you want to do? Do you want to just do full-on BFBs, or do you want to have at least 1 good late-game card? And the best bang-for-your-buck card is, surprisingly, the Ray of Doom. Only $30,000 to get 5 Zone My Gods, so you get $6,000 per Zone My God, where this one's $9,000. And I think if I mathed that right, it was like $8,500 or something like that for this guy, so you're getting like $2,500 cheaper Zone My Gods. I feel like this should be like 15 or 20 Zone My Gods, honestly. Just to make up for like the fact that it's 100,000 mother effing dollars. So we're gonna pop the Ray of Doom in our deck. So you might look at my deck and say, what is going on? It's just completely random and weird and odd. And that's true. That's how decks work. You need to have something for everything. And of course, luck is involved in every single game with card battles. You might have to throw out a bunch of cards before you even get something that you can use, but that is part of the game. Some games are not meant to be won. If you just get so darn unlucky that you don't get, your boomerang or your attack shooter or your wizard in the early game, you pretty much just lose. Kind of sad, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So, as far as deck building goes, anything can happen. And that's what I want to point out. Any deck can work. I think there's something like I don't know the exact number, but something like 1 trillion combinations of decks that you can build in this game. There's a lot of different combinations. And if you actually take into consideration the fact that you can organize these in any which way, there's literally infinite. The closest number that you can think of to how many decks you could possibly build is infinity. There is an exact number, but it's just, you can't even write it down on paper. It's that gigantic. So, anything can happen. Anything can work. The only thing that I don't recommend is going all late game towers or all mid game towers. You definitely need some early game towers. And hopefully you can get lucky with those guys, get some good guys going, and hopefully build a fantastic deck. So those are kind of like my main ideas. You need some economy cards. You need to be able to pop every single type of balloon. It's another thing. A lot of people, what they do is they'll forget, one certain type of balloon. For example, my Camel Lead popping power is not nothing, but it is a little bit on the low side. I mean, all I got is the balloon trap over here. He can slurp up some of those guys, and the flash bomb. I have to rely on those guys quite a bit to get my Camel Lead popping power. Most people don't rush with Camel Leads all that much, but you need to be wary. I mean, this guy could also pop Camel Leads, but I don't know if I would actually end up using him all that much. He's $4,000. I mean, he's a pretty decent tower, but mostly you use certain cards for rushes, certain cards for attacks, and you don't usually mix them up all that much. That's the way I like to do it, though. So, there's not that many cards that have, double uses that are, absolutely perfect. Of course, there are a lot of different cards in here. The Balloon Impact's a really, really good card, as you can tell from the purple glowiness and everything. Really, really good card. There's also the Super Monkey Fan Club's a really good card. Use the Super Monkey Fan Club ability. Pops a lot of the Zone My God or BFB layers. And then 3 BFBs, I feel like it's the perfect amount of BFBs. So if you can send out 1 set of these guys, right around 21, not many people can deal with that. And then if you want to go even crazier, you can just cycle through and send out 2 sets, and that's 6 BFBs. So you don't really need to save up the $15,000 right away. You can just send out 1 set and then wait for the next set. So there's a lot of different things going on with deck building, and there's no perfect deck. There are bad decks. I will say that. If you just went and you built 10 of these cards right here that all cost more than $3,000 or more than $7,000, then yeah, you're probably going to lose a lot of your games. Probably going to lose every game. unless the guy surrenders. So there are bad decks, but for the most part, you just gotta test it out. See what's working for you, see what's not working for you. If you're like, I hate this card, it's not working for me, throw it in the garbage, man. Just get rid of it. Don't play with it anymore. Change it out and put a new card in your deck. That's all I got. I know this was just more of a ranting type of video where I just talked about what I thought was good cards, what I thought was good ideas to keep in mind. If you didn't like this video, that's okay. That's okay, I understand. Just let me know what you think I could have done better in the future, and I'll try and do a better job. If you guys did like the video, though, make sure you press the like button for me. I really do appreciate that. And have a super duper delicious day.